Hey everybody, it's Tradius Trades. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be diving into crude oil. Crude oil is just such an important market in the world. It's so widely followed that I wanted to just start doing a more regular video dedicated explicitly, specifically for crude oil. So here we are. We're going to look at crude oil using price action. We're going to look at COT and other fundamental indicators. And I'm going to give you my trading plan. This is how I'm looking to trade these markets. This is supposed to be educational and informational, not trading advice. So there's your disclaimer. I'm not telling you to go and buy or sell crude oil. This is for you to learn from me how I read the markets, hopefully take something away and incorporate it into your trading. So let's get into it, you guys. So crude oil. A lot of people have been talking about crude oil going to $45. It's going to zero. The world's going to crap, and that all might be true. But what I see in the charts tells me that we are getting close to a bottom. How big of a bottom? Who knows? But we are very close to a bottom, and it may already be underway right now. So let's start from the monthly time frame, which is where I start all of my analysis. So got a few things on my chart here I'm going to explain to you. I'm going to clean it up a tiny bit so there's less stuff for you guys to focus on. So first of all, you'll see I marked off a yearly sell. What does that mean? Well, that means that we're in a yearly downswing. That level got taken out and we are in a yearly downswing. So that's what that level is. So that just tells me the momentum on the yearly chart clearly is to the downside. And when the monthly is in alignment with that yearly trend, which is a downward 18 period moving average trend on the monthly, that just gives me a little insight. What are the high probability trades? So I know that shorts are the highest probability trades with trend, with the really high time frame momentum, which is the yearly to the monthly. So all that being said doesn't mean we can't catch really good trades on the long side. So what we know right now from the monthly is that we're in a monthly downswing. We're a long way away from putting in a monthly upswing. We'd have to get all the way up to April's highs to confirm a monthly upswing. So that tells me that well, first of all, daily shorts are going to be much higher probability because they're in alignment with the monthly time frame. And but that, like I just said, doesn't mean we can't catch really good long opportunities. And why would I want to be longing crude oil right now? And some people may think it's crazy to be longing crude oil right now, which maybe it is. But if you look under the hood of the market, it's actually not all that crazy. So what do I mean under the hood? Well, price moves from point A to point B for fundamental reasons. There's very fundamental reasons why price would make a huge move like this on the weekly chart. So those reasons we're going to take a look at right now. Okay, so this is COT data at the top. This is a COT index on crude oil. So we see the commercials have been very long here at the bottom. They're very long crude oil relative to the last 26 weeks, while at the same time, the small specs and the large traders are very, very short at a short extreme. That is very nice to see. What else we see is that 2 weeks ago, the sentiment advisor reading got really, really bearish. These are the advisors that tell their clients what to buy or sell when they get at an extreme that's juxtaposed to the commercials position. So in other words, they're really bearish while the commercials are really bullish. That's a really good potential area for a bottom. We're also really undervalued versus gold right here. Okay, then also what I've noticed down here, this is the net positioning lines. The red is the commercials. What do you notice about this general area of net positioning from the commercials? Take a look at the price chart at the top and then take a look at that general area of long positioning. We see it's led to some pretty significant up moves. Whenever the commercials have got into this general area of long positioning, we've seen really nice up moves. So that's exactly where we are right now, which is why I am basically fairly bullish on crude from a fundamental perspective. The underlying fundamentals are bullish. We also see that the small specs a couple weeks ago, they got the most short they had been since April of 2020. We all know what that was. That was the COVID lows. So that's the last time. Relatively, they also got this short back here as well, but relatively extreme short positioning from the small speculators. These guys are idiots. You do not want to do what these guys do when they're at extremes. They get way too bearish at the bottom, and that's exactly what we're seeing here in crude oil. So heading on over to the seasonals, we do have a bit bullish seasonal tendency. It's kind of choppy, but it is indeed up until June. So we have fundamentals in our favor, saying that this is a good time to look for crude oil long. So we're going to take a look at price action in a minute too. Before we do that, I wanted to show you some cycles that are definitely saying that this setup that I'm presenting to you here, which is to go long crude oil, which by the way, I'm already long crude oil, these cycles are in alignment here too. So this is a composite cycle. I took the three most dominant cycles from my cycle work, and that suggests that a cycle low should occur sometime end of April and go up until the end of June. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And I'm using a cyclic RSI to track this, and it's hard for me to track a composite cycle with a cyclic RSI because I don't know what the dominant actual full-on cycle is. But I've broken it down now into the most dominant cycles within that composite so that I can track those for cyclic RSI triggers, and some of them have already triggered. This is the composite cycle on the weekly data showing that we should bottom sometime around end of March. So this one's a little bit late and go up until July. So that's, again, we're in a cyclical upswing here in the composite cycle. And if we take a look at the broken down cycles, this is the 88.5 day cycle, generally to go up from end of April until June 27th. That one's already triggered a cyclic RSI buy signal. And then we've got a 228 day cycle based on weekly data and mid-March to go up until June. So again, that one's a little late. Nothing's perfect in this business. But then this is the 160.9 day cycle. Again, kind of that end of March, early April to go up until middle of June. So again, cyclical upswings. And we have the 515 day cycle all lining up kind of early April to go up until June. Again, another cycle lining up. The potent or the important thing for you to notice here is that all of these cycles are pointing towards the same thing, and they're dominant cycles. So it's nice when we see these really strong cycles aligning. And then this is a 5.1 year cycle based on weekly data. And that suggests that we're in a cyclical low period sometime. Now there can be left or right translation depending on how bullish or bearish it is. So if it isn't super bullish, well, it could translate somewhere over to the right where we put in a fairly major low in oil sometime between now and the fall of 2025, and then be in a cyclical upswing in oil until July 2027. So that's a much more high time frame cycle. That's hard to trade that, but it's just good to be aware. We're in a cyclical low phase based on a very high time frame cycle. And then this is the 245.9 day cycle, bottoming right around end of April to go up until August. So what the key thing is here is all of those are pointing to the same thing. They're all suggesting it's a good time to go long crude oil if there's a confirmed trend change. Now, we did have a trend change this week, so let's get a little bit more granular here and look at the price action. So what are we seeing here? So on the weekly chart, first thing I've marked out is last week's high. The reason that high is so important is if we trade through it, that's going to confirm this as a higher low. So we got a low here, lower high, higher low. That is a change. That's a bullish shift. Can the bulls then pump up and put in a higher high and actually put in a bit of a market structure shift and start shifting things here? And that's what I'm watching for. If we do get the weekly high from last week traded through, I'm going to be needing to wait for the bulls to get a full confirmed trend change. And what that for me would be is I need 2 full range bars above the 18 period moving average. That's the blue line. If I get 2 full range bars above it, in other words, the lows of those 2 bars have to be above the 18 MA and they can't be inside bars. I would need to then see follow through of those 2 bars. So I'll just draw that and show you what that would look like. So here's the 18 MA. We have a bar like this, and we'd have another bar like this, and then price would then have to trade through the high of those 2 bars, and that would confirm for me that the trend is up on the daily. And then from there, it's go time to take longs, oversold longs. So I have a percent R here, and I have 3 of them. I have the 4, the 10, and the 14. If those start to dip and close below 50 or get all the way down here, those are oversold conditions, really nice opportunities to take longs, which would then be in alignment with what? It'd be in alignment with a weekly upswing, a higher low, be in alignment with fundamentals underlying the market. We know that the commercials are super long, small specs are super short. We're very undervalued. Sentiment is super bearish, and we have seasonals in our favor. There's a lot of things saying it's a good time to go long crude oil if we get a trend change. Now, we did get a trend change this week, and this is where I got long, so I'll explain that to you guys too. So this is a qualified trend line. So I took a short-term high here, and then I drew it down here and attached it to this short-term high. And the reason I took an entry at that qualified trend line, what made it qualified was the fact that the bar prior to it closed as a down close. So if you have a down close, prior to you're looking for longs, you can take longs at the trend line. That's a qualified trend line. That's a concept taught by Larry Williams and Tom DeMark. So that's where I'm long. My stop is, well, I've trailed it now to the 3-bar trail, which is right here. Or right here, because that's an inside bar. So the 3-bar trail is right there. So I'm long already. So that's kind of the game plan. How would I approach crude oil? Well, I wouldn't be looking for shorts anymore, because the risk reward isn't there. When you have all these fundamental things that I've shown you pointing towards taking longs, you don't want to necessarily work the short side of the market, because we're getting fairly close to a trend reversal. Now, the trend based on the monthly and the weekly and all the momentum has been bearish, but what I want to see is, do we get that shift here this week? And I think it might be happening, and that's what I'm watching for. You now know how I'm going to play this market for continuation trades. Like I said, I'm already long, but if we do get that full trend change using the 18-period moving average method, I'll be looking for continuation longs with oversold pullbacks. Another trend change would be if we get up and take out the last high, the high of the last 12 days. That's a 12 Donchian channel break. I wouldn't be surprised if we get that this week. I'm not a huge fan that these equal lows are down here. That it could be that we're going to pop down there and take those out first before this move that I'm talking about here plays out. But what I'm teaching you here is legitimate and very, very worth paying attention to. The fundamentals suggest oil is going to have a bullish move of some significance. So hope you found this valuable. If you have questions about price action trading or COT and fundamental style trading, you can shoot me an email to tradiustrades@gmail.com. I can answer your questions, and I can also get you into my free Discord, where me and a great group of traders are chatting on the daily basis about the markets, and I share all my thoughts on a daily basis as well. So without any further ado, you guys, hope this update was valuable to you, and enjoy your week. Thanks.